Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new Let's Play through in Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich. Today, we're playing as the USA, following into the CSA and eventually electing a Totalist, I think? Are they elected in the post-war conference? Actually, don't know. But here we are. So, the United States in 1936. In 1936, the United States of America is gripping an unrelenting crisis. Although able to avoid the horrors of the Krieg, which allowed the prosperity to continue well into the 1920s, German victory in the Krieg, followed by the French and British revolutions, led to the Wall Street crash of 1925. This sent the United States spiraling into the Great Depression and allowed the Berlin stock market to take its place at the forefront of the world economy. The election of Hoover in 1928, while initially promising, failed in its entirety to reverse the decline of the American economy. And by 1936, the country spent well over a decade in the midst of the worst financial crisis it had ever seen. This fueled with the rise of radical parties in America, from the far-left Socialist Party of America to the far-right American First Party. Hoover's contentious re-election means that the House of Representatives in 1932, and the ongoing Great Depression means that those problems are unlikely to be resolved anytime soon. Many throughout the country fear the upheaval that would result should one of the extreme parties come to power, or should the Depression continue unabated. Okay, Great Depression. We're not going to really worry about that too much. If anything, it actually benefits us to not do this. But that seems less fun. So first things first, I'm going to reintroduce the Garner Wagner bill. So what are we going to be doing for the opening stages of the campaign? Because for the first year and a little bit, we're going to be playing as the USA, not as the country we're actually going to end up playing as. We'll go with our basic text here first, though. Just one quick second. Yeah, research speed, excellent. We're going to try to make things somewhat balanced, just because that makes things, I think, a little bit more interesting in the actual Civil War. 23 divisions. This is actually significantly more, I think, than you used to start off with. Last time I remember, you started off with, I think, legitimately, like, 8. So 27 is a much higher number. We'll split these guys in half for now. Put some of you guys on the border with Mexico, some of you on the border with Canada. It really does not make a major difference one way or the other. Okay, MacArthur can be Field Marshal. Congratulations to you. Butler can be one of our generals, followed by Marshall. Free factories. Of course, we're going to start building them in our the territories we will actually get as a CSA. As I said, we'll make things somewhat balanced, but you know, a little inclined to who we're going to be playing as in the future. The Garner Wagner bill reintroduced, with the assurances made by President Hoover that, unlike in 1932, this time he will not veto the bill. Democratic Senator Robert Wagner and Speaker of the House John Nancy Garner have reintroduced their unemployment relief legislation package. Many in Congress feel that the package does not go nearly far enough, while others wonder how America, in the midst of massive economic crisis, will possibly ever pay for it. The President of Senators from the AFP and the SPA also complicates things immensely. Even with Hoover's pledge, it is unknown if Garner Wagner will have a real chance at passing. Okay, military factories will go for... Again, what we build here doesn't really matter because we're not going to really get any of these materials. Okay, Kerensky's been shot. How barbaric. Voting rights delegation council, not a big deal for us. One thought must be true. The bill fails. Okay, Reagan's taking control of Russia, not a concern of ours. I believe they will... I think he declares himself to be the Tsar, if I'm not mistaken. Why is this not full screen? There we go, fantastic. Okay, Long and Reed demand changes. As expected, the early challenges to the Garner-Wagner bill have come from the AFP and the SPA. Huey Long and the AFP senators have demanded a vast increase in the Social Security provision the bill provides, provisions most other senators say America can never afford. Jack Reed and the SPA, meanwhile, say the bill doesn't go nearly enough to protect the average worker, particularly from exploitation by struggling corporations. Both parties have attracted a lot of media attention, adding to the general sense of disorder and tension in Congress. Is there anything else that's actually available to us? I think maybe the military tree. Yeah, the military tree is open as well, but I think these two are not. Yeah, these only open up after the Civil War actually begins. Okay, Totalist Charter. Bill passes or the bill fails. I actually don't know if this is a random chance. I think it actually might be like a 50-50 whether or not the bill passes or not. I don't know if we have a choice in that decision. Rubber will get that from Brazil. Seems reasonable enough to me. Again, we're not really going to do anything with our military leaders. It doesn't really matter what they do. Also, what national fears do we have? Great Depression. Apparently capital ships cost more. Political crisis, hold minor territories. Gives a little bit of Cuban bonuses, okay. Senators break ranks. After recent negotiations, a number of establishment senators have broken ranks over the coming vote for the Garner bill. Most notably, Robert Wagner, one of the bill's proposers. You say you will not vote for the bill unless protections for federal unemployment insurance are re-added. Many other Democrats and Republican senators are concerned about the influence of the AFP and the SPA, and claim that they will not vote for a bill, or will not vote for the bill if any concession is made to either group. So others say that not according to the AFP or the SPA will make passage difficult and not impossible. President Hoover will need to intervene in order to save the bill. Let us pledge support to Wagner and the establishment senators. Again, it does benefit us if the bill does fail. Okay, electoral gridlock in France. Okay, Black Monday has hit America. Despite the political turmoil and ineffectual economic relief program, it seems that to many as if the economy of the United States might finally be undergoing a slow recovery after the Wall Street crash in 1925. Black Monday has put an end to such hopes, and has sounded a death knell for an already ailing economy. Republican and Democrats have both pledged to fix the economy should they win the election, though public confidence in them is rapidly waning. Both Reid and Long have railed hard against the corrupt banking and political senators, which they blame for allowing the crisis to happen. Okay, so just make things worse for us, that's fine. And a coalition ticket. The 1936 election is looking to be one of the most contentious in American history. Many politicians within the upper circle of the Republican and Democratic parties fear that the victory by the Socialist Party of America or the American First Party would mean an end of America and the American way of life. In order to avoid this, a plan has been proposed within the halls of power to form a coalition ticket between the Republican and Democratic parties, with former Labor Governor Floyd Olson of Minnesota as the presidential candidate. This plan is unlikely to be popular with lower-ranking members of the parties, but many are that it may be the only thing that can prevent the radical parties from gaining strength. A coalition would debase the democratic system. I don't know how that could possibly be true, but okay. Long and Reid furious. Both Huey Long's AFP and Jack Reed's SPA have reacted with fury at President Hoover's endorsement of the establishment senators. They vowed to sink the Garner-Wagner bill, claiming that the public is being deceived by the corrupt government which refuses to recognize reality in America. While the parties have both gained considerable boost in support for their base, Republican and Democratic fortunes are improved somewhat. And there's a feeling that both have a better chance of going into the next election, provided the bill actually passes. Will it pass? I mean, I'm gonna say it's going to fail, but I'm not 100% too sure yet. Crime has swept the nation. As America spirals ever deeper into chaos, there has been a wave of crime throughout the country. Many of these criminals are getting sensational news stories about their activities, especially gangsters like John Dillner and the Stanless Bonnie and Clyde. Thankfully, the Bureau of Investigation has been working hard to catch these criminals and bring back some order to America. Of course, the AFP and the SPA have begun attributing these crimes to the moral decline and the robber barons respectively. Okay, so there's another 5 sensibility. I mean, we're only at -19. We've seen before, you know, the United States go into, like, negative... Oh, we actually get to choose whether or not it fails or not. Voting cannot be gone on the Garner-Wagner bill. With Congress divided between the AFP, the SPA, and the establishment senators, whether or not the bill will pass is anything but certain. Even if the bill passes, the question of where its funding will come from remains without an answer. However, if it fails, the consequences will be disastrous and widespread violence can be expected. Well, I'm sorry the bill got shot down. The Garner-Wagner bill fails. After the incredible close vote in Congress, the Garner-Wagner bill failed and to pass. Most other groups have declared personal victory. Protests have broken out in various parts of the country. There will be no relief for the American worker, and many have declared their government to be corrupt and dysfunctional. There will be considerable time for blame, but for the moment, the Hoover government's concern must turn to the growing violence throughout the American cities. Violence which is expected to only worsen in the months leading up to the election. So everyone hates the government. Okay, you know, fair enough, fair enough. We got War Plan White, demand repayments for Canadian war debts, which they can only say no. It used to actually be possible way back when that the Canadians could agree to repay the World War I era debt. I don't actually remember what that did. I think it just was bad for Canada. Paramilitary militias forming. With violence and instability sweeping the country, the AFP and the SPA have begun to form various paramilitary militias, which they claim are necessary for protecting the people. The AFP have called their group the Minutemen, while the SPA have named their forces the Red Guards. Seen patrolling their strongholds and party rallies, the well-armed and equipped paramilitary units have already engaged in scattered, though extremely violent conflicts. We believe that paramilitaries are modifying civilian firearms, and the FBI's attempt to seize weapon stockpiles are too slow to stop gun runners. This could turn very bad. Very fast. Okay, negative 34% stability. Okay, they are getting worse. Okay, this is Father Carl's Coughlin's CBS radio broadcast. 3 years ago today, Father Charles Coughlin began a weekly radio broadcast in America, and now has an audience over... Okay, good work, Australia, for having a democracy. It has an audience of over 50 million people. He's a raving anti-Semite who claims that the syndicalist revolution in France was formulated by the Jew. Okay. I'm trying to make sure the game passes while I'm also reading events, so we can get through this a little bit faster. And at the Berlin stock market crash, it's an international conspiracy of Jewish bank. Look, okay. Okay, we're not going to read this. Just give me of stability loss. There we go. I got interrupted, like, I think 5 times during that event. So, screw it. We're just not going to read it. We're just not going to read it. Okay, AFP members announcing themselves for Congress. And a St. Patrick's Day flood. On March 16th, 1936, warmer than usual temperatures led to a melting of the large amounts of snow and ice in the upper Antole and Mogbelhelia rivers. The rivers and their tributaries have overflown their banks and soon threatened the city of Pittsburgh. On March 17th, 1936, the waters reached a flooding stage of 25 feet. Then overnight, heavy rain caused the water to rise even higher. And on March 18th, the water peaked at about 46 feet, 21 feet above the flood stage. The worst such disaster in the city's history, and local authorities have requested federal aid. You're just gonna have to help yourself. Sorry about that. Negative 41% stability. It's good. It's fine. It's okay. Okay, Canada, Afghanistan have ended hostilities. I'm assuming Afghanistan is just, yeah, basically neutral. Nothing too crazy there. And again, I mean, we're still only in March, so major conflicts aren't going to be breaking out anytime soon. Or at least I guess the Spanish Civil War can happen, I think, in later this year. But that's really about it. Okay, Pius XII elected as new pope. Congratulations. Good luck, Your Holiness. We do need more rubber. We'll get that. We have literally no... Okay, we have no factories of trade. Increasing radicalization. With the Democrats and Republicans fighting amongst themselves, and as usual, more and more Americans are feeling alienated by the traditional Big Two and are flocking to the radical AFP and the SPA throughout the country. In these dark times, the distinction between genuine social reform and graft is hard to distinguish. Those under the radical banner and their political enclaves have received some social welfare, share wealth donations from the AFP and the international red aid from the SPA. The party machine of these radicals utilizes mass media to a much stronger degree than either Republicans or the Democrats. It is looking more and more like the 1936 election will come down to Reed or Long. Okay. And more pets to Canada. We can reconcile or we can pass a tariff act, which actually gives you political power. So, you know, let's do war plan white first, which is, I think, sending units or sending troops into major American cities. Canada has refused. The Canadian government had... Okay, Stanley Cup. Detroit. Okay, we're just not going to read that event. That's fine. Usually... Okay, Toronto's won. I think Toronto usually wins. It's not actually guaranteed that Toronto wins. Just like it's actually not guaranteed that Uruguay wins the World Cup. It's just like a 95% chance or something like that. Those events to go that way. Okay. Special election in Washington. We'll elect a socialist. And then we will elect, let's say, the Democrats. We're at negative 57% stability. That's fine. You know? I'm sure everything will come out A-okay. Right? Like, nothing bad could possibly happen. By the way, how do you have bad supplies in your own country? Also, yeah, turn off fog and war, please. Okay, failed coup in Beijing. What actually is... It's 95%. That's actually kind of incredible. Okay, Panama has pressured Costa Rica. The Panamanians have begun a small-scale military assault on the Cota region of Costa Rica. Okay, well, threaten intervention. And the May Day riots. May Day, International Workers' Day. This is a holiday that the Socialist Party celebrates with numerous parades and speeches, and since its founding. Generally, things are peaceful, though there have been confrontations with the police. However, this time things are more violent than normal. Clash between the socialists and the local police, backed by the AFP, have occurred throughout the country. The question is, who's at fault? The socialists declared that things were peaceful until the police and the AFP goons arrived on the scene, and the AFP were saying the socialists began by assaulting ununionized workers and blurry photos, and have blurry photos to claim that guns our SPA were brandishing. Okay, this will. Okay, I guess this actually somehow saying that SPA was at fault makes the SPA stronger, so I guess we'll take that now. Okay, so Bulgaria's gone constitutional. I don't know how long that'll last. We'll see what happens after their war. Okay, Panama's back down. After hearing the American support for Costa Rica and not willing to escalate the situation to a full conflict, forces of Panama have begun to back down from the region. The America, they can have a single victory. They can survive, they can support Costa Rica. So, I mean, I guess that's something, right? Okay, farmer labor flocks to the SPA. Minnesota, which has long been a bastion of the farmer labor governor Floyd Olson, has finally flipped. Many people are turning away from the governor Olson on the direction of the IWW and the SPA. Various unions have held rallies for the SPA, and attendance far outstrips our ability to shut them down. Okay, research slot. We got 2 slots here. We go for concentrated industry on you. Followed by... You know what? I'll take a 36 upgrade. Again, anything we do research right now does carry over to the SPA. Or it does carry over to the CSA, I guess, to be a little bit more precise. We want to research what we can. I mean, we could screw the AI over by making them, you know... Like, just theoretically be like, hey... You should research night vision as soon as we had to switch over, because I don't think AI will ever switch off of that, but I might be wrong. War plan white. Time has come to dust off one of America's military's color-coded war plans. This one meant for dealing with domestic disturbances and insurrections. It cannot come in a moment too soon, as violence is escalating in areas where the AFP and the SPA have begun contending with local authorities for dominance. Minnesota and North Carolina are 2 states where the violence is at a height, and at the moment we can only focus our efforts on one place. Well, we have focused a lot on boosting the SPA, so I feel okay giving them one little nudge down. Because again, I want to make things somewhat even. I think that makes a more interesting campaign. Okay, deploy the National Guard. Yes, you're now the Z League League. Over Shandong. What is Japan doing right now? Currently, they are conservative. And the death of the death of Big Bill Haywood. Today, one of the titans of the industrial works of the world, William Big Bill Haywood, has passed away. Death marks the passing of the torch. Elizabeth Gurley Flynn spoke at the funeral, saying history has a long-range perspective. This ultimately passes stern judgment on tyrants and vindicates those who fought. Okay, Southern Democrats vote for line with the AFP. It ultimately passes stern judgment on tyrants and vindicates those who fought, suffered, and were in prison and died for human freedom, against political oppression and economic slavery. Many other leaders within the various union organizations, including his rivals in the AFL, also spoke at his funeral, as well as leaders within the Socialist Party of America. Jack Reed also spoke at the funeral, ending his speech with some of Haywood's quotes. Okay. Oh, I mean, apparently French Republic is going Democratic. Good for them. Okay, if the workers are organized, all they have to do is put their hands in their... Okay, it took too long to read that event. That's fine. That's cool. We'll build some more ships here. Convoys, we can start producing them out. I know in, I think, is it Kaiser Redux where, Bill Haywood is actually the leader of the SPA and not Jack Reed? And the Great Heat Wave of 36. The heat wave has struck the continental United States and Canada. Most severe heat wave in modern history in North America. Great heat wave started in late June and went up to over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius, as drought conditions worsened due to the continued lack of rain. Now in July, the heat has reached all-time records. In Steele, North Dakota, temperatures have reached 121, or 50 degrees Celsius. In Ohio, temperatures reached 110, 43, which is close to tying the record high set in 1934. This comes at a time of major political unrest, American First Council, a major force in the Midwest politics, and socialist and syndicalist forces gathering strength in the Great Legions. The drought is continuing, and over 3,000 reported deaths have been linked to it. Many people are suffering from heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Farmers across the continent saw their worst harvest on record, causing corn and wheat prices to skyrocket. And the heat wave does not seem to be giving up anytime soon. Okay, we're at negative 57 political power, but we're getting 1% per week. So if you look at it from that perspective, also our units are actually not Most of our units are actually only at half strength. Fantastic. Good work, team. Thank you, aggressive assaulter. Camouflage expert is usually pretty good. Never mind, I don't have any command power for that. I don't need it. I don't need command power. Siam's new constitution. I don't think I've seen this event before. Okay, interesting, interesting. They might still have a civil war, but I guess that's something we can guarantee. Or not guarantee, but it's something that we can reliably predict. Okay, Finland has fallen. So we just did an event against the SPA, so we'll then go for American First Party next. The National Guard has been deployed for over 6 months now, fighting to maintain security in a number of American cities. But there is growing fear that commanders in the Guard are not entirely loyal to the Republic, that many harbor sympathies for the AFP and the SPA. More focus needs to be put on strengthening the units. We know we're loyal. And we also need to decide where to focus your deployment for the time being. So we'll go for Tennessee next. And the Red Summer. Summer heat has turned into violence and blood as cities, starting with Charleston, South Carolina, throughout the country engage in bloody racial riots as whites beat up blacks and burned black businesses. Number of lynchings that had occurred throughout the country spiked during the summer. In response, American Blood Brotherhood and other elements of the SPA and CSA have begun arming and fighting back. Social Party of America has defended their actions and have furnished blurry photos they claim show AFP members in lynch mobs. Negative 62% stability. Fantastic. And you're just a movie, right? Gone with the Wind? 20 political power? Fine. And the 4th of July! Actually, well, right now it's the 6th of July as the time of recording, which is going to be actually the first, same time this will go up live on YouTube. So, I mean, we missed it by a few days, but that's okay. America has had a brief period of calm today with a mostly peaceful Independence Day celebration. Commemorating the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776 by the Second Continental Congress on the eve of the American Revolutionary War. Holiday is one of the great importance to the American people, though many were worried about the rising tension in America would result in yet another bout of violence and a long and brutal election season. Most signed a breath of relief today as the news reported a little brawling during the annual celebration. While all major candidates made sure to be seen and photographed among the large crowds and delivered speeches connecting their respective causes to the situation of 1776, most Americans took the time to take a break from the intense politics plaguing America. Instead, they decided to just spend time with their families and friends amidst picnics and fireworks. It was seen that for a brief moment that America has finally received something that lacked for a very long time. Unity. Okay, 5 political power. Actually, we're losing 0.78 per day. That's kind of incredible. MacArthur has spoken to President Hoover privately about the contingency plan called War Plan White, a military plan for dealing with possible armed uprising of U.S. citizens. The plan would call on MacArthur to take emergency action to protect the country and re-erect old barricades in Washington, D.C. This plan can be engaged even from outside Washington, D.C. at the Washington Arsenal. While the plan has obviously not been made public, we at least have a contingency if the radicals enact one of the revolutions from within the government. Negative 67% stability. Again, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Send troops to location cities? Sure, why not? We'll send some units over there. We have 37% support at the moment. Will that last? Oh, absolutely not. It's not going to take a while for us to lose control of the legation cities. But that's fine. I don't really know if we need them too much. Okay, so that's going to be 100 political power. We will then... let's reconcile with Canada, and we'll not pass the Tariff Act. And then after that, we'll just do War Department extension, U.S. Navy. I think that's really about all there is there afterwards. Yeah, we're still missing rubber, and there's no way we're going to be able to get that. Okay, Poland. Altbruck, which I believe is German. No, it is not. It's a Habsburg again. Okay. Which means they will be aligning themselves with the Austrians, which does mean that eventually they will be a adversary of ours, because again, we are going to be going for Totalist. Question is whether or not we're going to go good Syndicalist soldier, or I think the other one should call like Liberate the Americas. I don't quite remember what it's called. So we'll see whether or not we want to. I mean, no matter what, we're probably going to get ourselves involved in the Ville Creek regardless. So 38. Go basic radio. Battle of the Overpass. In Detroit, Michigan, the automotive capital of the world, Walter Reuther and Richard Frankenstein, the leaders of the United Auto Workers Association, called for a general strike against a Ford Motor Company and proclaimed themselves for unionism, not Fordism, demanding higher pay and fewer hours for automotive workers. At 2 p.m. today, a photographer from the Detroit Free Press asked to take a photo of leaders of the UAW, standing on the overpass with a Ford sign in the background. While they were posing, a group of 40 men from the Ford Service Department approached them from behind and began to beat them with their batons. The group then continued their attack on some of the beret-wearing women present to pass out leaflets. -71. Okay, -71. Fantastic. There's a growing concern that America is descending into a possible civil war, and that, despite all of our efforts to maintain security, supporters of the AFP and the SPA simply have too much influence in some parts of the country. General Douglas MacArthur has unveiled a plan to infiltrate key areas of either New York City or southern Texas. Both are of high importance. New York for its industry and Texas for its oil. And both are a high risk for a takeover. MacArthur says that these efforts might still come to naught if the AFP and SPA's power comes too great, but he believes it greatly increases the government's chance of maintaining control should it come to an armed conflict. Well, I think controlling oil would make more sense for the government. We'll then do a reconciliation with Canada. We have no political power. He had 100 and it immediately went back down to nothing. Oh, we have a genius. Again, these guys don't matter because we're not going to have them in our future country. And violence has broken out even more in the political... Or violence reached the political theater. For some time, the violence has been mostly between the supporters of the radical parties. However, recently the violence is now reaching the candidates and politicians themselves. Failed attempts on the lives of both Huey Long and Jack Reed have occurred in the past few months. Both gunmen shooting from the crowd, both failed, and both resulted in higher security. There are more local politicians have been stabbed during the campaign rally. Moreover, voters from both extremes are turning a blind eye to the violence done to their enemies. Okay, actually, not a stability loss. So, I mean, that's something, right? But I think at least for right now, it's going to be a good time for us to end this first episode. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not doing, click thumbs down. If you want to subscribe, and goodbye.